What's up?
What's up?
Finally got the camera to work.
Were you having trouble?
Yeah, well, I didn't have the microphone turned on. So when I went to turn the microphone off, it logged me out of the. I'm a Luddite adjacent.
So I'm happy that worked out for you.
Yeah, me too. I gotta take this off though. This is getting hot, so. Oh, plus I can't see in these things. There's no bifocals in them, so I have no idea what I'm looking at. So. Ah, there we go. All right.
So how's your day?
It's not too bad. You know, I managed to do some work today. You know, I'm just tooling around trying to get a few orders done. You know.
How long have you been in Tennessee?
I was born here, but I've moved all over. You name it, I've lived Colorado, New Mexico, California, Connecticut.
All right, so we're gonna get to
Yeah.
that.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I've been here in this house. We've been here 2010.
Okay.
Longest
Right.
place I've ever lived by more than 8 years.
Right. Have you been to the Grand Ole Opry?
Oh yeah.
Who'd you go see?
I don't remember at the actual Grand Ole Opry because that was in the 70s that I went. But I've been to the Ryman since we've been here in the last 10 years. We've been to see Willie Nelson, Loretta Lynn,
The goodies.
Dwight Yoakam. I cannot think of so many. I used to listen to the radio here, but they've changed, you know, live WSM, the 650 a lot. So because I was working from here, I'd listen to it. I'd enter the contest. You know, so we went to all these concerts for free.
Nice.
It is nice.
So, you ever listen to the Righteous Brothers?
Yes. I listen to all kinds of music.
Okay.
Everything.
Right. You listen to Two Live Crew?
Well, in the late 80s, early 90s, definitely. Only because someone told me I shouldn't. You know, we had a particular, and that's the only reason.
Right. That's what we all did.
But I'll tell you, you know what? Cop Killer was one of my favorite songs. It shouldn't be, but you know, I know it's not. That's a different band or a rap group. But and of course,
Ice-T?
Cop Killer? No, that's NWA, isn't it?
I think it's Ice.
Is it Ice-T?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a rap aficionado. So.
It's all good, brother.
Yeah.
All right, so you ready to get started with the questions?
We might as well.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, well, I'm Travis Curtis. Currently a chair maker / furniture maker, living in Whites Creek, Tennessee, which is just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. It's 9 miles from downtown.
Okay. If you had the chance to go to the moon, would you?
Yes.
Why?
Totally. Why? I mean, first of all, practically weightless. That's got to be fun. My knees hurt. My back hurts. So imagine just trouncing around in some dust. You kidding me? Let's go. It's only, 250,000 miles there, so do it.
All right. What word or phrase do you overuse?
That's what she said, unfortunately. My wife can confirm.
What is your least favorite thing to do?
Interviews.
Okay.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous as a piglet at a barbecue.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming on. What is your most favorite thing to do?
Eat.
What do you like to eat?
You name it. Anything but asparagus. I don't like asparagus. It's a terrible vegetable.
Okay. You know what that made me think of? Remember when George W. Bush said he didn't like broccoli.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And no one's going to make him eat it.
I love broccoli, though. It doesn't love me, but I love it.
What makes you tick?
What makes me tick? Laughter. I mean, that's what really gets me going. It always has. I was one of those. I was very accident prone as a kid, so I learned very quickly if you laughed at yourself, and the other people would start laughing at you, or it wouldn't be so much laughing at you; they'd start laughing with you. So I go from there. So I have a strange sense of humor because of that. So I can't see someone get hurt and not laugh. I just can't. I try not to. I try to stifle it sometimes, but it's,
What irks you the most?
Irks me. I should have been better prepared for this. I think the fact that we don't talk about politics. I know that in classes and things, everybody always gives the spiel. We don't want to talk about politics, but I think that because we don't talk about them. We kind of put our heads in the sand. Is we lose the ability to see other points of view.
So I've intentionally not talked about politics.
Yeah, and I totally understand it because it gets people riled up. It gets me riled up. But I'm okay with getting riled up. I can get riled up and I can have someone else get riled up. And at the end of the day, shake their hand and say, okay, you know what?
But the rest of the country is not like that.
I know, and that's because we don't talk about it. We just bitch at each other on the computer. We get online, we're anonymous, and it'll say our little screen name or whatever.
Keyboard gangsters.
What's that?
Say keyboard gangsters.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's gets puffed up when they're typing on their computer, but.
So, let's talk politics.
Okay.
So
this will be like the Titanic then.
So how do you feel about our current political environment?
Well, like I said, the political environment is terrible because we don't talk, so both sides just hack at each other instead of trying to reach agreements. They just hack at each other until nothing gets done or some backdoor deal gets done.
I was just about to go there. Do you think that politicians are more about helping the people or helping themselves?
Oh, definitely about the power. It's helping themselves. That's all they care about is getting reelected. That's it. They just want to get reelected, So whether it's in the current and they'll jump on bandwagon issues to try to stay in power, or they'll oppose bandwagon issues to stay in power. Those are the same things.
Right. However, they can appease emotion.
Yeah, exactly. And it's got us all in a frenzy and craziness. We're like rabid dogs because of it. And they love it because it keeps them in power.
I worked in the White House for George W. Bush. I worked on Capitol Hill for Bob Livingston. I worked in the RNC when it was Bennett, right as Atwater was dying. I worked in the '88 convention in New Orleans. A lot of my life I followed politics, and I followed it closely. And my take is, as long as America is fighting about race and fighting about petty foolishness, the people in charge stay in charge. People with the money keep the money while we're a bunch of ants trying to kill each other.
Yeah, for the crumbs. Yeah.
And my whole thought process was, if all of the poor people or the people similarly situated voted together, the country would change.
Yeah, for good or bad.
Let me say, vote in their best interest.
Yes. Yeah.
Not together, because that's voting in their best interest. It would better serve the people. So why is it Kentucky, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Georgia, etc., all vote against their best interest, and they remain poor, uneducated, welfare states for I don't know how many years, regardless of the administration?
Yeah.
These states,
Definitely.
the people in these states vote the same way.
Yeah.
I'm from Louisiana. And
I mean, I don't know why. I think part of it is because they've convinced us all that as long as we're slightly better than someone else, we're doing okay.
as long as you believe.
Yeah, and that's all you gotta do, and they just feed you the same stuff. So, but that's. I mean, I think that goes around the world.
Yes.
You know, there's a caste system in every single part of this world. So.
Yep. Yeah. So fear is what drives us.
Yes. Yeah. Fear of failure, fear of success sometimes.
Yeah.
Fear of other people's success.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of things.
Envy is a powerful emotion.
Yes, it is.
It is. I mean, that's why, you know, one of the 7 deadly sins, right? I mean, it's up there, right?
Yeah.
This guy knows.
The man, but both of them.
Yes. Yes.
Both of them. What sound makes you happiest?
I like to hear a beagle bray or a donkey bray, any of those. You know, the beagles are, oh, that kind of stuff. I love that kind of noise. Any kind of loud noises like that, you know. Just, I grew up in a very loud household. Just everybody yelled. So, and I didn't realize I was a loud talker. And so, until I was in probably high school and I became conscious of it. And so I've sort of lowered. And so a lot of people think I whisper, but it's just really that I try to not yell, and I don't know how to regulate from what I consider a normal voice. But no, you know, the first time my wife stayed at my mother's house, you know, all she could hear was yelling the whole time. And in fact, my mother was yelling, "Be quiet," you know.
Right. She's going to think we're crazy.
So loud noises are comforting to me.
My family,
Blake, you're an evil person. I thought you were a good boy.
my family was loud as well. And when sometimes I bring girls over, they'll be like, "Why are you all yelling at each other?"
Yeah. It's like, I don't, what?
We're not just yelling, we're talking.
Yeah, this is how we talk. This is how we express. I remember going to a friend's house. I was probably 12 or so. They were yellers in my book. I mean, my friend said something at dinner, and his dad just reached over and knocked him out cold.
That's different.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, okay, all right. You know, and again, it's a caste system. It's like, well, we're not really yellers. There's somebody, you know, above us, so I'm okay.
What sound bothers you the most?
I can hear my wife crying. Oh, actually, You know what? She's much better at the silence does. I don't do well with silence. It's very disturbing to me.
Got it.
Yeah, it's uneasy weirdness, you know.
Okay. What is the one thing your wife would change about you?
I don't think she would change anything. I think I'm perfect the way I am.
Oh, get her in here. Let's see what she has to say.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't do that. I don't know. That doesn't sound good.
She's not here.
Yeah, she's left. I don't know what she would. What was the question? What would she change about me?
Yeah, what would she change about you?
She would probably want me to be more emotive. You know, I have laughter and no emotion. Those are my ranges sometimes, and so I think she'd rather have a better range.
Yeah, better range. So in between.
Yeah, something in there, you know. She didn't want the extremes.
What profession other than your own would you like to try?
Well, okay, this is gonna. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a bass singer in a gospel quartet. I didn't know that you had to have a God-given voice for that. I thought you could train to do that. So, if I really could, that's what I would do. I would be. I wanted to test. I wanted to be J.D. Sumner. I don't know if you know J.D. Sumner is, but
I don't.
He, along with the Stamps, were Elvis's backup group for a long time. You know, so it was J.D. Sumner Stamps, and he had one of the lowest octave voices on record, and so I wanted to be him. So if I could, I would change my voice to be lower, and then that's what I would do. I would just
go to church.
I don't know if I'd do that.
Oh, so you don't want to go to church? You just want to sing gospel? No,
I'm kidding. I you know, when I lived in Hendersonville a long time ago, probably 20 or 30 years ago, I didn't enjoy church music until I went to a church around the corner that was predominantly black, and they could sing. I was like, what is this? You know, everybody's in key. You know, it's like they're clapping, having a damn good time. It's like, yeah, I could do this. And so for a summer,
you won't fall asleep.
Yeah, that's probably, that's been my experience, is like, or someone behind you, you know, they're way off key, you know, and they're having, I mean, I'm not trying to, I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but you know, it's okay, but it's like, I prefer good music in church.
It's more of an experience.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is cross the street.
Yeah.
What would you want on your tombstone?
Oh, a disco ball.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, because there's some people going to want to dance on my grave, and I'm going to say, live it up.
So, did you listen to disco?
Of course.
Who'd you like?
Casey and the Sunshine Band, Village People, Diana Ross. You know, I still have a 45 of YMCA.
Nice.
That I bought in the 70s. So. I'm a child of the 70s, so, you know, all that stuff, you know, Elton John, those kinds of things, you know, I could hear.
I love Elton John.
All those things, like, take me right back, and, you know, and I still don't understand half of what Elton says, but I just make it up. I got the melody right. Just keep going.
Yes. What is it about your personality that drives your business?
Mental illness. You got to be, looks like I'm going dark here. There's got to be something wrong with you mentally to do this, to work for yourself. It's hard work.
It is.
I have so much respect for my parents. They, in the late 70s, started a typesetting business on their own, right when the computers were coming into that. And, you know, they worked all the time. My sister and I were latchkey kids. I was 8, she was 10, and that's how I learned to cook. Because we started dinner before they got home, and sometimes ate dinner before they got home.
Yep.
But you know, I have so much more respect. It's so hard to do.
It is. What is it about your personality that hinders your business?
Oh, mental illness. It's the same thing.
Right. Check that box again.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we're going for it, right? All in.
Who would you travel cross country with on a motorcycle?
Anyone. Let's go. I haven't done that in a long time. I used to have a motorcycle. I had several motorcycles, and I've been to Los Angeles, to Key West, you name it, all over. I've been to everywhere on a motorcycle except for the Northwest.
Wow.
Everywhere. And the last trip I took was on a hardtail Springer, 3,700 miles. I couldn't do that now. I'm 50 years old. I couldn't do that now. It would kill me, but I would try it.
What was your favorite concert?
That's hard. Probably only because I have such good memories of the people I was with, would been the Beach Boys. When I was in high school, the Beach Boys had, you know, the Kokomo hit. And so they were touring again, and so I went with some friends to that. I think Gloria Estefan was playing too. But, you know, it's all the good, you know, and then the Beach Boys, you know, it was just a good time.
When was the last time you cried?
I stubbed my toe this morning. No, I'm kidding. Really cried was probably 3 or 4 years ago. We had to put our dog down, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, we were in the office, you know, because we were trying to, you know, cross the Rainbow Bridge is what they call that when you're helping these animals in. He had hip problems for a while, and so for the last 2 months of his life, I carried him outside for the bathroom like 4 times a day. And then he was no longer even able to hold himself up, so I'd hold him up. And so we held on for a long time. He was our pal, our kid. He was our kid. And then when we had to put him down, I was in the office there, and I bawled and bawled and bawled. I didn't know that it would affect me like that, but it did. And then, of course, having to bury him was tough too. So that's probably the last time I really, really, like, just full on.
You have any kids?
No, I'm too young.
I had a couple of dogs, and right before that, I had one dog that was with me for a while. And that dog died, and I was in pain. So I went out and go get 2 more dogs. Didn't get attached to those, and it was at the gate, and they kept sneaking out of the gate. And I stopped going back. I stopped looking for it.
I'm gonna show Danny this because I know because he's being a bad guy right now. So I'm gonna. This guy's watching you, Danny.
So emotional, and I have a cat now, and the emotional attachment to animals is real.
Oh yeah, it did. When I was a kid, we had animals all the time, and you know they would die, or my dad would kill them, or any of those things, and it just never. It was like I just went there, but this guy was somebody we found. We lived in Houston, and he was on the streets of Houston, and my wife's coworkers had found him, and they were going to take him to a kill shelter. And then they found some no-kill. So, like, you know, she begged me to get him. I was like, I don't want to or anything. So we got this, and he was a kid. He was just our buddy. I took him to work sometimes. He was just he was literally our kid, and we got him a companion a couple of times. You know, so we had 3 beagles at once, and that's like the Three Stooges. I mean, there was it was chaos and fun every day, all the time, just rolled in constantly doing something.
When was the most difficult time for your business, and how did you overcome it?
I think every day is, and I'm still learning how to overcome it. You know, like we were talking earlier, you know, there's just so many challenges. Trying to keep yourself motivated, trying to hustle, trying to find the line between doing something that you want to be doing at the moment versus doing what a customer wants. All those things that, you know, and then trying to find customers. So, you know, every day is tough.
Every day.
Every day is. Well, except for Fridays. I take Fridays off. My wife has Fridays and Saturdays off, and so Friday, I don't come in the shop. I don't do anything.
What impact do you want to leave on the industry?
I hope that through teaching that, you know, there's going to be some other chair maker out there that's going to just keep doing this. I'm not like a great chair maker or anything, but what I've learned, I hope to pass that on. And that's what I hope that it just keeps continuing. Regardless, even if it's a semi-professional.
Right. Do you have any black friends?
No. I mean, the last black friend I had, true black friend, was in high school. And so, she was killed waiting on the bus. And since then, it's only just been coworkers. And since I don't have any coworkers, you know, even though we live like right on the edge of an historic black neighborhood, and I see black people every day. I don't know any of them, and they don't know me. We just kind of keep passing each other and don't know each other. We wave, you know, I wave at people, they wave at me, you know, we're all, but, you know, I don't know anyone.
Do you often see people of color in your industry?
No, I've never seen this person. I'm sure there has to be. Well, you know, it depends on what you consider. If you consider just woodworking, yeah, there are. I know some Instagram, you know, Insta friends. Is that what you call them? You know, people that I follow and converse with. You know, comment and things. So there are those.
Right. Who would you most like to have a conversation with?
I don't probably, I don't know. There's a couple people actually. Neil deGrasse Tyson, because I like physics and I don't understand enough of it. And so he is like so enthusiastic about it that conversation would be great. I probably wouldn't learn anything after that. I'd be like, oh, man, I should have paid attention. But
yeah, he makes a very usually boring subject very entertaining.
Yeah, I'm sure like a class with him would be a lot of fun. It'd be difficult. But I have some, you know, probably run-of-the-mill questions about gravity that I would love to talk to him about. So.
What's that?
Well, I just wonder how.
I like to get a question.
Well, I mean, I don't know. That's the thing is I don't even know how to formulate some of these questions. I'm just curious as, you know, how the mass of a heavenly body and just its density, not just its mass, how that affects gravity, and why does it affect gravity, where does that fit? You know, it's things like that. Just because if you ever have seen some of those classic physics models where they have a grid pattern and then there's heavenly bottoms and they're squishing it down, it's like a time space is distorting that. I was like, I just wonder how gravity affects that and what's the effect of that. And I'm sure there's probably something on YouTube that probably quickly explain, or even a book. I don't know. But I would like to hear his explanation. I'm sure that would lead to other questions about it.
Yep. Who else would you like to have a conversation with? You said there were a couple.
The guy that painted Obama's White House portrait, I love that portrait. You know, presidential portraits are like, man, they're all bland. And then here's this guy with all these colors, and this is just a bro. It's just a guy sitting there looking at you like, wow, you know, that is a damn good portrait. I mean, plus I love colors. You know, I am partially colorblind, so I have a trouble with shades. And so anytime there's like a lot of bright colors, I'm attracted to that because I can like, I see that. I mean, now if there's a number hidden in those, I have no idea. But I love that portrait because that is so animated with him just sitting there. And that to me is amazing. So I would love to talk to him about that.
Do you follow him on Instagram?
I don't know who he is. I've just, you know, whenever that came out and I've, you know, seen the postcards around, but I probably should look into that because I'm sure some of his other stuff is fabulous.
Yeah.
Like, you know, as opposed to the painting of Michelle, I don't like that one so much. I think she looks too ashy. I mean, it's like one of those, I know that's that painter's style, but I'm not a big fan of it, you know, so I don't think it looks as pretty as it could be, you know, if are you allowed to say that, I don't know, but I don't think it's as beautiful, I guess, but as it could be if it wasn't so gray. But I don't know, I'm sure that's probably her point of making these portraits that way, but Obama's, I mean, that's a great portrait.
Right. So let's get into your journey.
Okay.
How did you get into this? Let's take us from high school.
All right.
Talk about the different things you've done, the different jobs you've had, and how they led to you building chairs.
I don't know how it led to me exactly, so we'll go through it and some of the stuff. I went, you know, after high school, I, you know, did college, and then I did some more.
Where'd you go to college?
What?
Where'd you go to college?
At the University of Tennessee, Martin. Also, there's a community college here, Ball State, so I started there. And then, so I apparently liked college and couldn't figure out what I wanted. So I quit for a while and moved out to New Mexico and came back and was driving a truck and then decided to go back and finish up. So I have a degree in biology and chemistry from UT Martin. And then I met my wife there. And we went to San Antonio for her graduate school for a year. We lived there and I worked as a chemist. And then I went to
chemist.
Yeah. In oil. It was the oil lab at that time. And then I went to graduate school for forensics. So I have a bachelor's biology, chemistry, and a master's in forensics. And then I became a forensic toxicologist, dealing mostly with postmortem toxicology and a couple of DUIs, you know, probably like 200 DUIs, but about 20,000 postmortem toxicology.
What was the strangest thing you've done doing that?
The strangest thing that did probably was when we were living in Midland, Texas. I was working in a private laboratory. And the oil boom started going again, and so those people that were collecting samples just left one day, and so I had to go back to collecting samples from dead bodies, and so picking up liver off the side of a railroad track, you know, tissue samples. That's probably the strangest thing.
Off the side of a railroad track because
they had fallen off people hitch rides on trains and then they fall off and get run over by the train. Or sometimes they are inside the car and a load will shift and like a grape, they just squash them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal looking.
And where was this?
That was in Midland. That was where Midland is a corridor for trains because of just the way it's situated. And so there's a lot, and it's out in the open. So there's, people would come up from Mexico, either from Mexico or from some other country, come up through there. And then once they hit the train tracks in East Texas, they'd get on the trains there. And then it's the ride to somewhere else, and then get off in another, place and go to wherever the rail yards were. But
yeah, wherever the train would take you.
Yeah, and so so I did that, and then and then there was like, have you ever, who Eric Gorgeous is? Does the Craftsman's Legacy thing? He has a great open line about how you're chasing titles and money. And so I was doing that for a long time, and then finally in 2010, I was living in Wichita, and my wife was living here in Nashville, and it was just tearing us apart. We were seeing each other every couple of months, and so the job that she was supposed to take out there went away, and so I had a really good job as assistant chief toxicologist at the Sedgwick County Medical Examiner's Office. So it was career, I was going to end my career there. But it was just one of those things. So we were like, what do we do? And so we just made a decision that I was just going to walk away and come back to Nashville, and we would just start all over. That lasted about 2 years. I guess you could say I went real crazy. And then a colleague offered me a position in Indianapolis, working for the state of Indianapolis at their laboratory. And so I did that for about 6 months, and I found I just didn't like it anymore. I just couldn't do it. So I quit again. I came back, and I was working here. We have 2 acres here, and so I would farm that and run a community-supported agriculture program. So we'd feed ourselves with that, and then feed them. And then,
what did you farm?
Everything, vegetables. So you name it. It was from
asparagus.
Never asparagus. No, despite people would ask for it, but I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Because asparagus grows back every year.
Yeah, but it's terrible tasting every year too.
Oh, it's delicious.
No. So it would start in February with peas and kale and other greens, and and then it would end in November with kale and peas. So it was, and then in January I'd start getting catalogs again and start doing that. But so, and then as far as woodworking, I'd always been doing woodworking. My grandparents, my grandfather was a finisher for Gibson Guitar Company. And my grandmother was a master carver for Davis Cabinet Company here in Nashville. In fact,
wow.
And then later, my grandfather, when he retired, he was a folk artist. And so he would make little banjos and, anything Gibson made, he would try to emulate them and copy them. So he'd make little scale models of those and sell those. And so I have a few of these things from him. And my grandmother carved pools.
Wow.
So she was there so long that, they did this by hand, and they did the early Panto router stuff. And then she would just do the master carvings, and then they would send that to the Philippines, and then some kid in the Philippines would carve it or, reproduce it. And then I have another one like here. So sometimes they would send them back as rough like this, and then they would finish those. So there's a lot. So this is still machined, and then someone would hand finish it. But anyway, so I wasn't born with a hammer in my hand, but it wasn't long after that I had a hammer, and so I was banging stuff and putting stuff together and taking it apart, and always making furniture. I tried, my first business venture was in high school. I tried to make quilt racks, were very popular, and I hated it. Because you just make a bunch of parts and then try to convince somebody to buy this quilt rack, which for $60, I can remember the price because I was trying to sell them for $60, and people were like, oh, that's very expensive. I mean, this was the 80s, so it's like $60, you know, I don't know what that would translate to today. Probably not a lot, but but it's still, you know, I wasn't, you know, I may have had $5 in materials, but here I was, just some kid trying to hustle stuff like that, and I hated it. So from that point on, I only made stuff for myself and my family. So if there was a piece of furniture, I need a bookcase, I'd make a bookcase. Or my sister has 3 kids, so I'd make them tables and bookcases and toy boxes. And then when we were first married, of course, we were, you know, I made like $9 an hour as a chemist. So I made our coffee table in our apartment in Connecticut with a circular saw and a Kirby vacuum. And then I did that stuff and was, you know, honing skills and stuff. And so after I left Indianapolis in middle 2012, I guess. And I have this building out here behind the house that was mostly just storage. And I started going to the library, and Popular Woodworking was in there, and I'd never heard of the magazine. You know, so I started reading that, and it's like there was hand tools. I was like, people are using hand tools. And I remember seeing the Woodwright Shop as a kid and watching that with my grandparents and loving that. And so like I thought it was, you know, kooky television stuff, that nobody really did that. And so I started reading that, and it's like, you know, I could do that because there's no electricity or anything, you know, maybe I'll just do that. So this old building that's out here, it used to be a garage. I made the floor. I cut every board by hand with a handsaw and just nailed it in by hand, just because I didn't have electricity, and it was something to keep me busy. And then I started making furniture again. It was probably about that time too that I saw, of course, because of Popular Woodworking, Chris Schwarz at Lost Art Press, and he had an article about Workbench, and I thought, I think I'd like to do that, you know, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money on it, so I didn't buy vices at first or anything. And in 2013, I made the vise that I think it was one of the first or maybe second iterations of the Rubo, you know, with just a crochet and hold fast. And I just started making little things, little furniture for friends. And I'd wanted to make a chair, so I bought a chair making book from Drew Langster and was hoping to go take a class with him. I never could get timing or anything because I was still doing the farming stuff, so there was no time I could just go for, you know, a week and a half or so. And then I was reading a blog. I don't remember the guy's name, but he had taken a class with Greg Pennington. I'd taken a bench class, I think it was, and I was like, oh, there's a guy. He's only 19 miles from our house. I had no idea he was making chairs. So it's like, I think I'll just go and do that. So I emailed Greg, and like a month later, I was the only person in the class, and I made a chair. And had a great time. It was for my wife. It was for her birthday.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2015 or 2014. One of the two. I think December 2014. And I thought that, okay, that's, you know, I got that chair out of my system. It was fun. And then a year later, Peter Galbraith came out with the book, The Chairmaker's Notebook. And I was like, wow, you know, how come I didn't, Kirby vacuum. Yeah, I used to sell Kirby vacuums. That was one of the jobs I had right out of high school. I was trying to sell Kirby vacuums. Terrible job. So that's how I had a Kirby vacuum. So So Peter Gower had that book, and I thought, I'm going to try to just make a chair using only stuff that Peter Gower had in that book. And so I talked to Greg, and I bought some stuff from him, and I went up to a log yard by myself here close to us. They normally only do logs for railroad ties, so terrible logs. But it didn't matter because the guy charged me like $30, and had a great story because one of the guys that was going to load me, they came back from lunch, and he's got this cigarette in his mouth, and he leans out his car window, and he's like, "Let me ask you a question. What in the hell do you want with a log?" And so I showed him. I was like, "I'm going to make a chair," and he's like, So they bashed it on the thing. I came home and I was able to get some parts. I still have and actually so instead of making one of the chairs that was in Peter's book, I decided I wanted to make a riding arm chair, which is like the biggest, most complicated Windsor chair, like regular chair you could probably make because there's just so many parts. It's big, and you got the tablets, you got to do that. And so I talked to Greg about it, and Greg is just one of those people that he's like, "Yeah, come up here, and I'll give you the patterns that I made mine with," and that's it. And he gave me some advice on where to buy some tools, and because I told him, he's like, "I want to just try using Peter's book," and so I just used Peter's book, and I put together a riding arm chair with stuff that I could get from Home Depot and this log yard. It's got a poplar tablet and all those things. And then building that chair, I got a bug. I got the chair bug, and it hasn't died since. I mean, it's like thriving in me. I love chairs.
Have you taken any more classes since?
I have. I have taken one with George Sawyer, Dave Sawyer's son. Glenn Rundle and Greg taught a class in 2017, and I took a class with him on settees, even though I made most of the parts before the class, and then mostly just assembled it. And but I still learned a lot because I think probably the first 20 chairs or so, there's always a part that I would put in wrong. And I don't think I ever got one. Like that riding arm chair, every leg is in the wrong hole. Even though I labeled them, I did it just some point in the glue up, I just flip them around. But because it's an 8 stretcher, it doesn't matter. They all work. And then I think that's the only. I've been trying to take a class with Curtis Buchanan ever since I made that riding arm chair, and every year someone beats me to the punch. I can't get it. And then this year, I was finally in a class, and COVID, and it's like, well, I guess I'm not going to get the chance to do that. But I talk with Curtis every once in a while through email or on the phone about a couple things like that, and he's just another one of those chair makers that just. If you show an interest at all and show him, you instead of just buying the plans and you're trying to do these things, he is so giving. You don't have to necessarily. He's probably gonna don't everybody email him all at once about stuff, but he just gives him. Plus, his YouTubes are free, so I've watched those a few times, things like that, and then. I just started making chairs. I have 6 nieces, 2 nephews, and they're all starting to get in the age where they're having kids of their own. And so I started making chairs for them, nursing chairs, rocking chairs, stuff like that, just something. And so I make the chairs, give it away. And then I also took a stick chair class with Chris Williams. That was because it's totally different from green woodworking. Kiln dried stuff or air dried stuff, but completely different. If anyone out there wants to make a chair like that, I would highly recommend getting on one of those classes with Chris Williams or with Chris Schwartz. Or I'm sure there's other people making stick chairs that here in the U.S. It's such a different experience that you don't need green woodworking skills. You can use your hand planes, block planes, all those things, and have a good time making a chair. And they're good looking chairs. I like those chairs too. And then let's see. So we're still on a journey. Wow, it's a long journey.
Sometimes they are.
My feet are tired. I was at Greg's house one day and just talking about stuff, and I don't know who brought it up, but one of us brought up teaching or whatever, and the only other class I ever taught was an introductory to mass spectrometry, which is chemistry class, nothing to do with chair making. And I don't know, we were talking about stuff like that, and he was talking about teaching. He's like, you should come here and you sit in one of the classes and help me teach a class and see if you like it. You know, you might like it. And so I was like, okay, that sounds great. You know, I might as well. And so I fell in love with teaching. So I started doing that. And Greg's so generous that that he would allow me to come, several times during the year and learn how to learn. You learn a lot about building chairs like that because you're taking the class along too, because Greg is there and the students are there. And so you're trying to help Greg teach. So you get to do all those things. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to try teaching classes here myself. And so I've been doing that. And then a couple of years ago, I lucked out and I was at a used bookstore and I bought a book by Jeannie Alexander when she was John Alexander, How to Make a Chair from a Tree for $2. And I thought, I would love to make a ladder back, that'd be fun. And so I started trying to teach myself how to make ladder back chairs. And then this summer, Greg bought a ladder back chair from me, and another student in his class bought one, and it's taken off. I mean, this is the summer of the Jeannie Alexander ladder back chair, and I couldn't be more excited about it. I've learned so much making these things, increased productivity, and sometimes I hate the productivity part of it because you're just making parts and parts and parts and parts. But I've learned so much about chairs and myself too, about what I want to do with where that line is on.
Right. Can we get a shop tour?
Yeah. Let's see. Do we want to do that now? You want to log off and log back in, or you want to just try to end this on the shop tour? Or I don't know.
Let's see if we can end it on a shop tour.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Look at that. Nobody wants to be here anyways, right? All right. For one last shot of Jesus de Cristo and Elvez. Let's see if we can get this. There we go.
Beautiful.
So let me get this around here. I'm trying to grab the other side of this. All right. So this is the shop edition. So I just put some insulation in, trying to get some walls. But here's some other walls. That's the little chair. I've been out here just bored, so if I got a little leftover paint, I'll just slather. So all these walls are going to get covered up. So I'm like, who cares? I might as well have some fun. This is what I guess you call the bench room. It's mostly hand tools and chairs. There's a shave horse in every corner. And this is that first bench that I made in 2013, well worn. You can see the dirt. And then let's see what else. And then over here is the original portion, the original garage, and this is where I have all the power tools. So drill press, thickness planer that's on a cart, so I can wheel it out to the front. And either blow it out the front or hook up the dust collector that way.
Very nice.
Wood burning stove, clamps, lathe. True confession time. I don't like turning. So I do it, and the turnings are fine, but I don't like doing it, so I have to. But and that's just finishing supplies and other schmutz and trash can, dust collector, and bandsaw. Uh, so this is what I guess the second project. The first project I made with that bench was this tool chest.
Very
So
nice.
it's a little Dutch tool chest. You know, it's just got all your crap in there and stuff. And then I didn't, you know, because I am male, I have to have more tools. So I had to make another cabinet for more crap, you know. I have a plane problem.
Nice.
For sure. And then that guy there, you know, that's Jenny Bauer's work.
Yeah, beautiful.
And then some other, and hopefully when I get the walls done, in addition, I'm going to be moving a lot of this hand tool stuff in there, putting it on the walls. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't know what else. The donkey is not, well, only then that I like donkeys. And so I've been called a jackass quite often. So
we have 52 seconds. Keep talking. You're good.
All right. Well, I enjoyed this. You know, it was lots of fun. I'm glad. And then I guess I'll go in here and we can leave it on this. This can be the last thing. Let's go here, right? Share, sleep, and repeat, which is what I've been doing the last 3 months, all since COVID here.
Yeah, and I thank you for your time and your generosity coming on.
Well, thank you, Robert. This was a lot of fun. So.
It's an absolute pleasure, brother.
All right, we'll see you. Thank
you again. Thank you all for tuning in. And this will go on the page, as you know, and then it'll be on YouTube. Oh wow, I didn't realize that. Yep. All right, my brother. All right. Take care, Robert. Thanks, Travis. All right. Good night. Good night.